What is up, my people? Welcome to one more video. I don't even know if that's not. Is that a good intro? Anyways, today I want to talk about secret societies and how, like, the stuff that they do, and but mainly when it comes to like movies, like in movies, like what are some good examples of stuff that's happening now that pretty much they warned us about it in movies, or what are some good movies that kind of encapsulates what's happening right now, or that maybe warned us about what's happening right now with the whole Epstein thing. And because I feel like it's like a cult, right? It's like a secret cult, or a secret society of people that, you know, get together and do crazy shit, right? And I told you guys that you know, before, I told you that that this is pretty much the way humans are, the way humans operate. You know, I know it sounds like I'm trying to normalize it. I'm not trying to normalize it. There's so many secret societies out there that control the world. What we're seeing right now in the U.S., this is just the U.S. faction of what we're looking at. But then at the same time, there's so many different secret societies that actually battle each other in real time without, you know, us mortals finding out about it. And I remember I was watching a guy talk about it in a forum, and he kind of diminished it and said, "Oh, you know, secret societies, they're just a bunch of crazy people that get together and just believe in dumb shit." You know, and the thing is, there is smaller, less powerful secret societies that do gather together and get together to like for example, like Fight Club. You know, Fight Club, there's actually real fight clubs out there that people just get together and they want to just scrap. And in a sense, that is kind of like a cult, a congregation of people that decided that fighting is their thing, right? And they have like codes and secret handshakes and, you know, initiation rituals, you know, and things that they believe in or whatever. So what I am trying to say is that I'm not trying to normalize secrecy or secret societies or cults or anything like that. I'm telling you, that's the way it is. That's the way of the world. It's just, let's put an example. You know, let's try to see if we could recreate the first secret society. Okay, so basically, there's a lot of people, right? Everybody's following the rules. What the rules just mean, you know, you just don't take from people, don't steal another person's wife, and, you know, share. Let's say that those were the rules in the beginning of mankind, and people would share their food. They would never take another person's partner or steal from another person or do any of these bad things that was prohibited, right? And then let's say that let's say that one day a couple of people, they just don't get enough food. Let's just say that. Or let's just say that in their minds they don't have enough food. They believe that they don't have enough food, they don't have enough shelter, and they just want more. But then they say, how can I get more? How can I get away with these things? If I do it by myself, I'm going to be outnumbered. So what they do is they gather other people that are like them. And how do they do that? By slowly breaking the rules. Slowly doing transgressions in front of your brother, or not your brother necessarily like blood brother, but just like your neighbor or whatever. And little by little, you both kind of become accomplices of each other with small things. You know, let's say you break like a small rule, like maybe you take like a jelly roll from your friend or whatever, and then he's like, "Where's my jelly roll?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then the other guy saw you do it, and he says, "I don't know either." So now you have an accomplice. You have a person that you can count on, and so now it's two of you, and now you need to find another one to at least complete a movement to go together, and then get more people that want to break the rules. They want more. And now you guys start to develop ways of developing trust, to figuring out if you could trust the people that are coming in. Handshakes, tests, and then from there you start stealing from other people regularly. You start breaking the rules with other people regularly because you have more people in the club. And that's pretty much what cults are. Okay, that's pretty much how they start. That's the basic human instinct to want to cheat and to want to have more. It's where that comes from. Now, I'm not saying that all secret societies are that crazy or that bad. Some of them are pretty much isolated in like small towns and small communities. Some other people aren't even that powerful sometimes, and they stick to their own little towns or whatever. But the thing about it is that some of these secret societies are very powerful. Some of these secret societies go into the government and have power over our lives. And I think that's when you start to worry. Because I'm not worried about the Fight Club down the street. I'm not worried about the people that believe elves are real, and they get together to make pie so that they can leave them in the forest, to praise Mother Earth or whatever. I don't give a shit about those people. They're not doing anything to me. But when we're talking about Skull and Bones, when we're talking about the Freemasons, when we're talking about people that hold positions of power and that pretty much own those places, that's when we're talking about actual people that are controlling our lives. But let's talk about some movies that I believe are good, and talk about these kinds of things. And my number 5 is Skulls. The Skulls. And The Skulls is pretty much a movie that pretty much tells you how a lot of these secret societies begin, and how they what they start off as, mostly, especially the big ones now that control the government. And that's how they make sure that they control the government, is by getting them in universities. That's where they start picking who's going to be a president, who's going to be, governor of this, or a senator or a judge. That's how they reach into the government in that way. So what they do is they if you look at this movie, they pretty much tells you how they do it. They pretty much initiate you. They do a whole bunch of ritual, initiation rituals, and a lot of the times it's not that crazy. It's just, you have to lay down, and they do some kind of psychological torture that makes you think that something bad happened to you. It's pretty much like gangs, guys. It's very much like gangs. Like, I don't know if you guys are from the 90s, but in the 90s, there was a lot of gangs, and they had initiation rituals that they would do, and it was, and some gangs had different initiation rituals for females than they did for males, and it starts off with jumping you in most of the time, right? Jumping you in is just everybody gets together and they have to beat the crap out of you. If you try to fight back, it's worse for you, because that means they'll beat the shit out of you for longer. But if you just sit there and take it, it lasts less time. Some of these are rumors, all right, so I don't know if it's true or not, but for women, they have to have sex with members of the gang. Okay, that's what I heard in some of these gangs. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. I have no idea, but that's what I heard. But basically, it starts off that way. But then later, when you want to get, promoted or whatever, you have to commit a crime, right? You have to commit a crime. Either you got to steal something. That's probably going to be the first thing. And then if you're going to get even higher, you're going to have to kill somebody, So those were the ways of gangs back in the 90s. I don't know if they still do the same shit or not, but that's basically what they used to do back in the day. And that's, gangs are they pretty much, they're the same thing. I mean, you look at the mafia. They have a initiation ritual. They don't jump you in, but they have like a certain initiation ritual where you have to, I don't know, like they burn a candle in front of you, they give you a ring or whatever. There's a bunch of shit that they do, right? That basically tells you that you're part of the mafia or whatever. And if they tell you you got to go kill somebody, you got to go kill somebody. It's not. There's no promotion past that for the mafia. It's just you're part of the mafia, and we're just gonna tell you if we need somebody done in, which most of the time they try not to go that far. But like, for example, like I heard that a lot of the Italian mafias, they want you to be pure Italian so that they could trace your family back home, and that way, if something happens that you don't want to do what you're supposed to do, they'll kill your people back home, or they'll threaten you. I know where you come from, I know your people, is from I don't know, Napoli or some shit. If you don't do what I say, Cuello for your boy. But anyways, it's kind of the same thing, guys. It's the same psychology that's behind gangs and behind mafias and behind these secret societies. It's the same human psychology that that makes these things so powerful, and that makes people want to be part of these secret societies, and but this movie's pretty good, man. You guys should definitely check it out. It kind of shows, what they really do in those secret societies, and the stuff that they use in this movie is very similar to Skull and Bones and the Freemasons, which a lot of people have already heard of. So, but this is it's one of those. By the way, Obama is Skull and Bones. I believe. Who else? I think Bush was Skull and Bones as well, and Bush Senior, or I think they were Bohemian Grove, or I don't know, man. So many. There's so many secret societies, dude. It's crazy. It's a bunch of them, dude. It's a bunch of them, and those are just the ones we know about. Then you have the ones we don't know about. Then you have the ones that are extremely strong. Then you have the ones that are weaker. But if you think about it, most of these secret societies that are in this kind of range, they all want the same thing, and that is an end game. That's really what a lot of them are looking for, because they just have different flavors of it. This kind of, for example, like, let me give you an example: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. They're all different in a way, and they all believe different things. But at the end of the day, all three of these religions have the same end goal, which is the takeover of the world that follows their own religion. So the Christians believe that there's going to be a big Armageddon war, and that everybody else is going to get defeated, and at the end everybody is going to be Christian, and they're going to follow Jesus Christ and praise Jesus Christ forever. The Muslims believe the same thing. There's going to be a war, and at the end everybody's going to praise Allah, and they're going to follow their particular flavor of religion. I guess what the Jews think. The Jews believe the same thing. That Judaism is going to take over the world, and that they will be the ones in command of the world. So that pretty much tells you, kind of like what's going on with these secret societies. Because a lot of these secret societies, especially the ones that I just mentioned, they believe in God, but they have an obligation to bend what has been established by Jesus, and to make rules and to make taboos and to establish these rules and these taboos for the people. And behind the scenes, they break those rules. So basically what I'm trying to say is they create the sin, they place the law and the consequences that these sins cost, be it life, be it being burnt at the stake, maybe the chop off your arm, whatever. And I'm just making up stuff, right? But these things, they for a long time were the solutions to sin, by the way. Right now it's a little bit relaxed, right? But a lot of these crimes, they were heavy, right? Heavy consequences for things that pretty much fall under just beliefs, right? So if you believed in witchcraft or whatever, they're gonna burn you, right? And the thing is, a lot of these people wanted to go back to that. And that's why they want sin, guys. That's why they want sin to be so people to worry so much about sin. Because the more taboos you have, that the people have, and the more the stricter they are with what they believe is bad and what they believe is good, and stuff like that, the more they can take over the world. You get what I'm saying? Because this is how they operate, through making transgressions together. You know, and by breaking these rules, that's how they're like, okay, we're connected by sin. And this is all throughout the Bible, even, and all throughout history. When you look at the Bible, when the angels came down and sinned, they made a pact first. We're gonna do these things together, and this will make us stronger, right? And it's gonna turn the heavens and earth against us because of what we did, but that's fine. The fact that we're doing it together and breaking these rules together will make us stronger, right? But what if a lot of these things weren't looked at as sins? Now, I'm not saying that that's what we should do, because there's certainly a limit. There's certainly things that I could not ever do. Like, for example, some of the stuff that they're doing with babies here, some of the sacrifices that they're doing with extremely young people. Some of the torture stuff that's going on, some of the psychological torture that's happening to a lot of these kids in order to turn them into zombies or whatever. These are the kind of things that I personally could never do, because it's crazy, dude. But what I want you to understand is that a lot of these societies want your taboos to get bigger, your sins to become more, and your rules to, basically your rules, that's what I mean, like your rules to become more, for you to think that more things are sinful, for you to believe that more things are evil, and that you should stay away from more things, and that way you're ruled by sin. Remember what Jesus Christ was mostly about, was about forgiveness. Okay, he was about forgiveness, and about not worrying too much about sin. Okay, and the Pharisees and a lot of the people that followed the law, they were all about sin. This is a sin, that is a sin. There's other things also a sin. You be careful not to do this because that's a sin. Do this and that, because if not, you're going to hell or whatever. Right? And so Jesus was like, nah. You know what I mean? He was like, nah. Yeah, sure, it's a sin, but remember, forgive each other, because God's gonna forgive you already, anyways. But you gotta forgive each other too, right? That's what the power of Jesus Christ was, forgiveness. But when he left, what did the Christians decide to do? They were like, bro, we can't live like this. We can't forgive people. What the hell? No, there has to be a consequence to things. There has to. And so that's where a lot of these secret societies started coming up, and they started making up, controlling. What do you think? Why do you think Freemasons and Skull and Bones and a lot of these people, they donate to churches? Because these churches are keeping, they're keeping the system in play. They're keeping it where it needs to be. They're keeping you guilty. They're keeping you wary of sin, while they, behind your back, commit all of those transgressions. Let me move on here to my other one that I want to talk about, which is They Live, which pretty much shows you how they control everything. They control what you believe. They control what you think. They control what you think is a sin, what you think is not a sin, what you think is tasty, what you want to eat. They control that. They control everything. Everything you think is cool, they control it. Everything you think is not cool, everything you think is evil, is controlled by them. Meanwhile, like, for example, you get a lot of people talking about left versus right. and that, the right is right or whatever, and the Christian side, or the Democrats are the party of evil. But now you look at the Epstein files, and they're both in there. You look at Donald Trump is sucking Bill Clinton's dick, allegedly. And meanwhile, you guys are fighting each other for left versus right. Meanwhile, they're over there sucking each other off. So it's like, it's the same thing that I'm talking to you about. Is they're making these rules, they're making the chess pieces, and they're putting them on both sides. But they have both sides on lock, and they talk to each other all the time. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I like about this one. It's like, people pretty much are being controlled by most of what people think, most of what people say. Sometimes I hear them and I don't really hear them, because they repeat the same shit that I've already heard somebody else say. And it just gets so boring, dude, when I hear people just say the same shit. I remember when the whole vaccine thing was happening, and I remember I was wearing a mask, and the reason I was wearing a mask, it had nothing to do with that. It was just I sneeze, and the only way when I get like really bad allergies, the only way that I get relief is by warm air going up my nose. And so when I cover up like that warms up my nostrils, and it makes it easier for me to breathe. But anyways, this guy took offense in it, that I was wearing a mask, and he thought that it was a political stance of some sort. Jesus Christ. And I'm over here minding my business, right? And he's talking about, why are you wearing a mask? Get that shit off of your face. And I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, what are you doing? Like, just let me wear the mask. I have allergies. What do you want me to do? Nah. You're being controlled by the government or whatever. I'm like, bro, like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And then it comes to find out that, everything he was saying, Tucker Carlson was talking about. Like, he said something about, I thought you were, when I see people with masks, I figure it was an old lady or something. I'm sorry, what the fuck? What? Only old people wear masks? I don't get where this comes from. Well, I heard Tucker Carlson talk about it. And now I'm like, okay, so this is where they're getting it from. And he wasn't the only one saying that. It's some other person. And I was like, after that, I was like, okay, this is like 3, 4, 5 people saying the same shit about, when I see people with masks, I figure it's an old lady or whatever. I'm like, there's no way that all of these people are saying the same thing naturally. Like, they just came up with this shit, all of them at the same time, which could be, but more than likely, those specific words came from somebody else, some podcaster, some guy, and I really don't remember if it was Tucker Carlson or who the fuck it was. I don't remember. Point is, I figured out it was somebody from the media or whatever, or online, telling these people what to say. And to be honest with you, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, I don't care what the fuck is happening with you people, bro. Like in your shit that y'all be making up, these little competitions between right versus left, fucking Marvel versus DC, Jacob versus Edwards. Like, go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit. This is why I don't fuck with people. I stick to my own business, bro, because it's just a bunch of bullshit, bro. It gets on my nerves. Anyways, let's move on here to another movie that kind of talks about, some of the stuff that's in the Epstein files as well, which is child trafficking, and how they could just take somebody away, and you would never find them again. They're halfway across the globe, being sold into slavery. They drug them, they torture them, the psychological, torture or whatever. And and so yeah, these people, man, it's sad, dude, because you could tell that this is the stuff that's happening in this movie is definitely real, and you could see how it could definitely happen that way. Now, this one here is an action movie. This is what made Liam Neeson famous again, and kind of relaunch his career as the old action guy or whatever. Which started a whole new trend of like old guy. If it wasn't for Liam Neeson, there would be no John Wick, basically. Which, by the way, John Wick is another Secret Society movie. You might want to check that out. It's pretty cool. Um, Another good one is Ready or Not. This movie is a pretty good movie, man. I really enjoyed this movie. But it shows kind of like how a lot of these secret societies are started by families, and they expand from that. And kind of like the weird games that they play with each other. And some of them go too far. By the way, if you go to the Epstein files, you're gonna see that they were hunting people. Some of them were African American, and they would say racial things about that. There was a lot of racism in these files. I don't want to use the words they were using, but they were insulting some black people, but they were also insulting, white women. Um, so I don't know, dude. It's crazy because some of this stuff is happening in front of our eyes. By the way, a lot of these Jewish people and Israelite people do see non-Jews as lesser than, and they have a special word for them, especially blonde hair, blue eyes, females. And I'm pretty sure males too, but they have a certain word for them in the files, and black people too. So there you go. Um, Anyways, this is a good one. Check it out. Eyes Wide Shut is in everybody's list. Everybody knows about this movie. And I'm pretty sure you've seen it by now. It has a lot of secret society type things in there. It shows you kind of how it starts, how it happens. It shows you that a lot of people don't really care about their children that much, and they would willingly give their daughters away for money, for to find an ally in sin. You get what I'm saying? Um, and you saw that in the files too, dude. Like, you would read the Epstein files, and there's parts in there where people are talking about, I'm bringing my son over, or I'm bringing my daughter over. Stuff like that. Knowing what you know about Epstein and about the Epstein Island or whatever, and you're still, because everybody knew about it, by the way. Everybody that was in like Wall Street and like in political circles and stuff like that, they knew about Epstein, and they knew what went on in his island. This is why you have people like Elon Musk, overtly just talking about it and telling them, "Hey, invite me to your parties. I wanna be part of your wildest parties." Fucking idiot. That's why, because people knew what was going on. It was just that you had to be a specific person to even get invited, or to even get a call, or to even try to make it in. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? So, but so basically, what I'm trying to say is, why would you do that? Why would you take your kids to a place like this, knowing that these types of things were happening, and who would do something like that? And the thing is, bro, a lot of people are doing it now without even knowing. All right, so because you got a lot of people, that are shocked that these adults would give their child to a sex trafficker or a person that does things to children like this. But if you look at a lot of these Trump supporters, a lot of these MAGA guys, they're actually sacrificing their children. Whether they want to believe it or not, or whether you see it or not, they're kind of symbolically sacrificing their children to Moloch, basically, because Moloch is who they were sacrificing people to, right? So basically, they're doing it too. They're doing the same thing that these people in the files were doing, and they're doing the same thing that these people. And I'm gonna explain why, okay? Because some of you are saying how they're doing that. Listen, if your kid, if you admire someone, your kid admires that person too. Like, the reason I even like Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee, and who else? Those are the only. Who else? No, those are the only two I remember. Julio Cesar Chavez, is because of my dad. Because my dad liked those fighters, and he always said that those fighters were the best or whatever. And so I grew up thinking these are the epitome of what a good fighter is. And I try to model myself to some of the things that they do. I can't do what Ali does because he's a special dude. But, but what Bruce Lee be doing, I'll be trying to, imitate or whatever. And from that on over, every, boxing hero that I ever had, or every hero that I had in the screen, kind of resembles those guys. Floyd Mayweather, similar, not the same, of course, but you got the abilities, you got the slickness or whatever. But basically what I'm trying to say is this: if your child sees that you are defending a guy that was found 1 million times in the files, and if you're defending a guy, you find yourself defending a guy in front of your children, that Mar-a-Lago is found in the files more than Epstein Island. Because that's another thing. A lot of people will say that Trump, he didn't do anything because he never went to Epstein Island. But what you fail to realize is that Mr. Epstein was not convicted for anything done in Epstein Island. He was convicted for things that happened in New York. You get what I'm saying? And I mean, we know who for a long time was called the King of New York. So that's all I'm saying there. All right, but when you defend a guy like this, and your kids watch you admire a guy like this, you're going to put in their brains that is the ideal man. That someone like this, that does these things, that says these things, is an admirable man. And you're going to put in their heads that you could get away with anything, including murder, as long as you're rich and powerful. And this is the mentality that you're putting into your children. You're sacrificing your children's future for this man, for Moloch. So congratulations. Another movie is Salo, 120 Days of Sodom. Yeah, this movie's crazy. I've only seen it one time because it's kind of crazy, but it also shows you how people, powerful people, get together and shake hands on things and control young people's lives. Because basically that's basically what's happening in this movie. It's symbolic, but at the same time, it's these things actually happen. I've pretty much been talking about it the whole time. But yeah, powerful people get together and they decide we're going to do these transgressions. They shake on it, boom. There's nothing any of the other people can do. Now I want to talk about some comic books that I like that they kind of talk about the same stuff, which is, one of them is Batman: The Court of Owls. I don't have the cover for it, but I do have this. This is kind of like the whole saga of it. I have the Court of Owls hardcover, and I have all of the crossovers, and I have even some of the crossovers for Detective Comics as well. So yeah, I was definitely a big fan of this series, and it pretty much talks about how secret societies can be controlling things behind the scenes, and a lot of people wouldn't even notice. But they, yeah, this is a pretty good book, and it kind of talks about secret societies and what they do, what they represent, and stuff like that. And I'm a big fan of Scott Snyder. Not to be confused with Zack Snyder, which is the guy, the director. But I pretty much like everything he does, including his whole Absolute Batman run. And another one I recommend is this one here, which is issue, I believe it's 15, with the Joker, and it kind of shows you pretty much, kind of like it kind of touches on this belief that these people believe that if they drink blood, of a certain type, that they're gonna live forever or whatever. And this Joker version of Joker kind of represents these types of people, and Absolute Evil is another one that I also recommend, which is a bunch of powerful people, shaking hands and deciding that they're going to suppress, the heroes, and pretty much they shake on it and say, we have to, just read this, man, and it's pretty much what I've been talking about. It's pretty much what I told you that these secret societies are doing and why they're doing it. Because they have to keep the narrative that that they just want to keep the system the way it is, but I mean, just read these books, man. They'll definitely get you, thinking about these things. But anyways, that's gonna be it for today. I already talked for a long time. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys later.